Hi, I'm so glad that you stopped by today. I've got something great to tell you about today. My name is Carol, and I love to save money. And just in case you like to save money too, I'm going to show you how I get about half off of some of my groceries. I made this video a few years back, and I posted it on my old channel. I'm updating it and sharing it with you today so that you can take advantage of this money saving app. It all started with this comment from a subscriber.
I'd like to thank you, Kathy, for sending me this message telling me about the FlashFood app. Although I was skeptical at first, I just had to check it out for myself. I mean, it really just seemed too good to be true. 50% off? Well, I just had to find out if this was real or a scam. Come along as I give this app a test ride, and you can see for yourself if it is worth downloading or not. So I went to Google Play, and they did indeed have an app called FlashFood. I downloaded it to my phone. I was so excited to check it out that it seemed to take forever for it to download. But it actually only took a minute or two before it appeared on my phone. So I clicked on it and the opening screen appeared. Next, this map appeared. The app knew just where I was, and it zoomed in on my location, and soon several shopping carts popped up. One of them was darker than the rest. That store was located in the city where I live, so I thought I'd check it out. I clicked on the images near the bottom of the page. I scrolled through the items that were available. I wasn't all that impressed. I didn't see anything I could use. So I went back to the map and clicked on another of the shopping carts. Now this one turned green. Then I clicked on the 4 images below the map. And although I didn't take the screenshot then, something like this appeared. These were some pretty good deals, but I don't eat meat, so I kept scrolling. I wish that I could eat these, but I have celiac disease, so I kept looking. Okay, now we're talking. This just might be what I have been looking for, but I've seen the discount produce bins, and some stores try to sell garbage that is past its prime. Would this just be the same? I would have to think about this for a while. So far, I hadn't seen enough to motivate me to take 2 buses in the cold. For the next few frigid days, I cyberstalked the app a few times a day to see what was available in the various stores nearby, and they had my interest. There were 2 or 3 things each day that I might like, each time that I checked, but I live in southeastern Wisconsin, and it was cold outside. Now, I've lived in Wisconsin for all of my 71 years, so I knew that all I had to do was wait a while, and it would warm up. Finally, we had a heat wave. It was cloudy, but you don't usually see temperatures like this in January in Wisconsin. So, I opened up the FlashFood app. Now, it must have been my day to go, because there was something on every page that I wanted. I had given myself a $20 spending limit, and I stayed pretty close, but I did go a little over. And I got a lot of amazing deals. I wanted to buy several of these produce boxes because they looked so good, but I really figured I should check them out first and just limit myself to one. Then I got to this last page, and they had vegan shredded cheese for only $1.99 a package. Now, the regular price on this was $5.99, which is the usual price for vegan shredded cheese. Since it was 1/3 the price, I bought myself 3 packages. I also got a bag of these lemons. I was planning to make tabbouleh and hummus, and I needed them for both. This teriyaki stir-fry kit was not only delicious, but there was a lot in here. Can you believe they had my favorite flavor of kombucha? I would have bought more, but this was all they had at that price. I love sprouts. I usually just sprout my own lentils, but these look good, and I hadn't sprouted any lentils in a while. They added a nice crunch to several salads. I'd buy them again, even at full price. The next thing that I found was this package of fresh green beans. They said that they contained bacon, but the bacon was like in a separate lump of butter or something that I was able to remove easily. Next, from the same company, was this bag of cauliflower. It was nicely all chopped up. I made some delicious Alfredo sauce with this. And last but not least, I chose this produce box. Now, I did go a little over my $20 spending limit, but just look at all I got for $22.22. I couldn't wait to get on the bus and go see what I got. Finally, I arrived at the store. I had a few other items to get first, so I went and I picked those out. Then I headed towards the customer service area. There I found these shelves, and right next to it was this big cooler. So I opened up my app to check my list. I reached for the lemons first. Now, that first bag of lemons was pretty soft, but I reached in the back and I got a bag of nice firm lemons. Then I opened the cooler, and this is what I saw. It was pretty full, but it was easy enough to find my items. First, I found my cauliflower way in the back with several other bags. My vegan cheese was way on the top shelf, and even though I'm quite tall at 5'10", it was a challenge trying to reach all of it. My sprouts were way down on the bottom next to the teriyaki stir-fry kit. There were a lot of those green beans, and I would have gotten more, but the rest were already spoken for. And there was my kombucha hiding behind those other bottles. Last but not least, I got my produce box. Each box is numbered, so I had to look for box number 1. It was hiding behind box number 4, but I pulled it out before I took the picture. I opened it up to see what was inside. At first, I wasn't all that impressed because that jalapeno was pretty wrinkled. And I was wondering, was this really $10 worth of produce? I'd have to check this out further. I waited until I got home to check things out. Now, this pepper was a little wrinkled on top too, but this I figured might be a total loss. And there was a yellow pepper too with a few wrinkles. But those tomatoes looked pretty firm, and so did the apples. In fact, I didn't eat all of them until a week later, and they were still good. Things were looking up. This looked pretty good after all. Probably the best fruit I've ever gotten from a discount. I was beginning to wish I had gotten another box. There's my teriyaki meal kit. That was pretty big. And my sprouts, my green beans. Oh, I didn't notice that Parmesan. I can't have that. My 1 vegan cheese, 2 vegan cheeses, 3 vegan cheeses, my bag of lemons, nice firm lemons, and my watermelon kombucha. Love that stuff. Now see that little circle in there? That's where the bacon was. And they had one like that in the cauliflower that contained the cheese. I was able to take those out easy. The first thing I did was cut up these peppers to soak them overnight and see if they were worth salvaging. I'll have to say that these bell peppers were pretty good. They were pretty crisp in the middle. It was just a little wrinkled near the top. I've rescued bell peppers that were in worse shape than these, so I had pretty high hopes for these. Ooh, these look pretty good. Now, I wasn't too sure about this jalapeno, but I didn't have anything to lose by giving it a try. I put them cut side down in the water. We'll see tomorrow if they're any good. Now let's get back to this produce box. Would it really have cost me $10 to buy all of this produce fresh? I didn't think to weigh the jalapeno, but we'll just say it was worth 22 cents, and the verdict is still out on that. Green peppers sell for 99 cents, so we're up to $1.21. Yellow peppers cost almost twice as much at $1.99, so we're up to $3.20. I had already eaten one of the tomatoes, So I weighed the remaining 4, and they came out to 25 ounces. I left the last one on the scale, and it weighed 5 ounces. So I'm estimating that the one that I ate probably weighed about that. So we'll say 30 ounces of those tomatoes on the vine. So it looks like these tomatoes were selling for $2.29 a pound at the time that I bought them. That would be about 14 cents an ounce, and we have 30 ounces. So that comes to $4.29, which makes our total now $7.49. And we've still got those oranges and apples to go. The first 3 apples weighed in at 13.8 ounces, and the other 4 weighed 21 ounces, making it a total of 34 ounces of apple. Now, the apples weren't labeled, but after looking online at the images of the apples they were selling at the time, they looked pretty much like the Pink Lady apples, so let's call them Pink Ladies for now. The price at the time was $5.89 for a 3-pound bag, or about $1.96 a pound, or 12 cents an ounce. So I'll add another $4.18 for these apples. So that brings our total to $11.67, and we've still got the oranges to add in. So I got a deal that's better than half price on this produce. Okay, so we've got 24.4 ounces of these halos. So if a 5-pound bag sells for $7.99, that comes to about $1.60 a pound, or 10 cents an ounce. Since we have 24.4 ounces, that would make that about $2.40 to add to our total. Well, my calculator said it was $2.44, so we've come to a grand total of $14.11, and we've still got 3 oranges to go. So I weighed the remaining 3 oranges, and they came to 17.8 ounces. But then I ate the smallest of the 3 oranges, and I realized that this wasn't your regular orange. I had a blood orange here. So I weighed the remaining 2 oranges again by themselves, and they were 4.4 ounces less than they had been with the blood orange on it. So I guess the blood orange weighed 4.4 ounces. Well, blood oranges aren't sold by the pound. They're 99 cents each. So our total is now at $15.10. And we still have to add in the cost of the navel oranges. These cost about $1 a pound, or about 6 1/4 cents per ounce. So that brings our total up to $15.94. That's more than 3 times what I paid for it. And besides the wrinkled peppers, everything else was very fresh. I finished the tomatoes and the apples at least a week after I bought this box, and they were still firm. And as for those peppers, they were nice and crisp, and I managed to salvage them all. I chopped most of them up to use in omelets or other dishes, but I was chomping on them as I was working too. And as you can tell from the sound of things, they got nice and crisp. I strained them before freezing, and I saved the liquid to use in soups. So I made a little spreadsheet here to show how much I saved. The total that this would have cost at full price would have been $56.25, a savings of $34.02. That's more than half off. So yeah, I would say this app is definitely worth checking out. Now I've been back 2 times since I got this first haul, and I'm not sure how much I saved. I'll have to check that out. Now this app isn't available everywhere. While visiting my daughter, I tried to log in and show them what it was like, but I couldn't find any stores in her area. Well, I hope you liked this video and that you learned something new, a new way of saving some money. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and if you know anybody who might be interested, feel free to share it with them.